I love that. I love that. Well, I'd really like to talk to you a bit about the defeat diabetes. So I guess, can we defeat diabetes? You talked about putting it into remission. So, how I guess you haven't always thought the way you do about nutrition now. So, can you talk a little bit about what's changed, and then, how you believe that we can either prevent or put diabetes into remission?
Yeah, good question. I mean, when I went through medical school a long time ago, we were taught that it was interesting. It was called mature onset diabetes then, because only old people got it. So they had to change the name to type 2 diabetes because younger and younger people were getting it. So that tells you something about the disease. And we were taught then, and medical students to this day are still taught that type 2 diabetes is a chronic progressive disease with inevitable progression, and there's nothing you can do to stop that progression, and you've just got to take more drugs and eventually finish up on insulin, and with all the complications that we're very aware of, to whether it's to eyes, to kidney, to heart, to brain, and so on. And that's still the sort of current teaching and the current thinking. You see that written everywhere in text and online and so on. This idea of a chronic progressive disease, and I must admit, until a few years ago, I assumed that was the case because that's what I've been taught, and that's what I read all the time. So, you just believe what you're told. But I think now that there is ample evidence that a low carb approach can, in fact, put your diabetes into remission. And if you look at the results, from various studies, but if we take the diabetes.co.uk group, which is probably the closest equivalent to what we're doing. And similarly, the Verta group in the US, with their online programs. I mean, they're both having 50% remission rates for their diabetes. The other 50% are reducing their medications, or if they're on insulin, getting off their insulin or lowering their insulin dose. So that's pretty dramatic, and that's something that's not supposed to happen, according to traditional orthodox medicine. You're not supposed to be able to put diabetes into remission. And so, there's a lot of reluctance by the medical profession, I guess, to acknowledge that, because, we're very used to sort of drug. We manage these disease with drugs, and we can't put into remission with drugs. And yet, here are these people saying and showing the evidence that you can do that through diet. And so, there's a lot of reluctance to acknowledge that. But the facts are there. I mean, you cannot deny, the facts that are published in the research, and also, the experiences that people have. I mean, I think David Unwin's story is a beautiful story about, here's a guy, similar vintage to me, been in practice for years, was pretty disillusioned with medicine, and literally stumbled across low carb as an approach to diabetes, and completely revitalized his practice, changed his practice. He's now, I think, got almost 100 of his patients into remission with type 2 diabetes, and he's just a humble GP in the north of England, and who's been advocating this for the last while. So it just shows that it's not that that any doctor could do it. But we're just got to get enough people on side. So,